is Long Way to the Top, and I'm your host, Shane Bryan. Before the Black Sorrows became one of Australia's most enduring and soul-soaked bands, there was a sax-playing kid who loved rhythm and blues and a knack for writing songs that got under your skin. That was Joe Camilleri. From the horn-driven energy of Jo Jo Zep and the Falcons to the rootsy, heartfelt grooves of the Black Sorrows, Joe has lived and breathed Australian music for more than 4 decades. After Jo Jo Zep ended, he started the Black Sorrows in 1984, playing cafes around Melbourne and pressing their first record, Sonola, independently, literally selling copies from the boot of his car. That grassroots hustle caught the ear of Elvis Costello, who began championing the band on stage, sparking a worldwide deal with CBS Sony and launching Dear Children. Now, 40 years on, Joe is celebrating the entire journey with the Quintessential Black Sorrows, a double album capturing the grit, groove and heart that made him one of Australia's true originals. I'm Shane Bryan, and I sat down with Joe to talk about the songs, the stories and the fire that still drives him. This is the Quintessential Black Sorrows. Joe Camilleri, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Oh, look, I'm super excited about the new album that you've just released. It is called The Quintessential Black Sorrows, and 40 years, 21 tracks. How did you choose what songs were going to go on that album?
Well, yeah, that's it's so tricky, that isn't it? Because it's just what happens on the week of doing it.
Right.
And you say, well, this is a good slice of what me and Nick have done as writers. And then you got all your markers, right? Of course, you change it. The Wheel is a marker. But I didn't put Country Girls, which is the very first song we ever wrote together.
Right.
It was kind of like a strange thing.
Why not?
I think if I had put it together a week later, it probably would have gone on.
Yeah.
And this is the thing: you write 300 songs, 21. There's a couple of covers on there. You know, of course, the Brown Eyed Girl and What a Difference a Day Makes, which came from the Sonola album.
Yeah.
And I felt, obviously, Brown Eyed Girl had to go on because that was the very first song we ever recorded.
Yeah.
And it was our first hit. You know, and it was what the band. It was a great look into what the band was about then.
Yeah.
You know, there's a nice overview of that. I don't know why I put What a Difference a Day Makes. I think I just loved the song so much, and I thought, what a way to finish the record.
Almost a bookmark, really, wasn't it?
Kind of, and it was such a popular record for something that was really meant to be a throwaway concept. You know, we made 500 records. You know, it was kind of an independent. The first 4 albums were independent, so it was just a beautiful time. But and then I thought about. I was thinking more about the musicians.
Yeah.
Who could be on the record. Try to, you know, there's 40 people, around 40 different members. And I thought maybe that concept would be better.
Yes.
To look at it from that perspective, you know, because everybody's got their footprint.
Yes.
In these songs. And so I tried to look at it from that perspective. And then, of course, it's just a slice of 40 years in the making, and you have to you've got to draw the line. And then I had this other thought about, well, you got your hit songs, and then you got the songs. Time has moved. You know, time passes you by. Time passes every band by, and there were songs that I felt that were worthy of being on the record just because of the quality of the songs themselves.
Yeah. You had an incredible start to the Black Sorrows career, And I want to come back to that. You talked about your first album that you'd only did 500 copies, and you were actually selling the records out of the boot of your car.
Well, kind of, yeah. Well, that was kind of the idea. I mean, there was a lot of record shops, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere. There was a lot of record bars, and I would walk in and say, "Would you mind? Do you want to take 5 copies?"
Yeah.
And I'll leave them with you, and if you sell them, you sell them. I'll come back next week. If you sold them, you can pay me, and you can get your cut, and I'll number them. Sign them, number them. It was on Camel Records, the first album. Anyway, so, and I would even, because it had a pyramid and a camel, and I would sometimes color in.
Right.
Because it was everything was handmade.
Yeah.
Right. So the album covers were handmade on a hoist, the famous Australian invention.
Yeah.
And we would screen print one side, put them on that, let them dry, and then come back and screen print the back.
Wow.
And so the labels were handmade, all those sort of things. It was a fun thing to do. And while we're doing that, we threw in a few T-shirts. It was kind of
it was really grassroots. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I just finished with one of the best Australian bands in the country. I'm in a place. I'm in a no man's land, really.
So you finished with Jo Jo Zep.
Yeah.
Had incredible hits with Jo Jo Zep. Had a great time touring. Everybody loved it.
Yep.
Why did you finish up?
I think, like all bands that were playing 250 shows a year, just burn out.
Yeah.
They just don't. And I think the musical landscape was changing, and we weren't changing enough with it. And we were to some degree, but there was it got to a point where if your next single wasn't kind of where it needed to be, I'm not talking about top 20 now. Top 20 was a flop, right?
Yeah, you had to get to the top 10.
In those days was, I don't know, should we drop this band or not?
Yeah, wow.
So it was kind of a different feeling, and we weren't having the hits. We had the songs maybe, and you have a big album like Screaming Targets, and you say, people say, wow, this is, it was Ringo Starr's best, one of his best albums, of the time. Someone said, what do you like, Ringo? He says, I like this band called Jo Jo Zep and the Falcons, So I didn't mean to throw that in, But
that's good. That's good, because that's not the first time or that's not the last time that happened. We'll get to that.
No, but what I'm saying is, you're at the mercy of what was coming.
Yeah.
It was, and the music was just changing, and we were changing, and we were kind of trying to keep up with trying to write good songs, which what we thought we had a great band, and it was a great live act, and had all those elements to it, and we still had crowds coming. So I think we just burned out. I think we were in Hobart, and we were playing at this pub. I think it was Hudson's, footballer pub. I think he owned it, Peter Hudson, and we were just kind of on our knees. And I said, well, what do you reckon, lads? I said, shall we just call it a day? And that was the last show we played. Wow. And then we did a kind of a tour, but that was the last show that the band played as a whole band. It was a great gig too, strangely enough. And here's the thing with all those things: you go to England, you go to America, you're in Europe, you're doing all these things. The window of opportunity is there for you, and all of a sudden it's just kind of it slowly shuts down. For whatever reasons. I think if we do what people do today, if you had let's take 6 months off, and we'll refresh.
And we'll come back together, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd be still going today.
Yeah, right. But it was fortunate because it opened up a new chapter in your life, and here you are selling records out of the boot of your car, and along comes Elvis Costello.
Well, that's kind of a weirdo thing, right? Because Elvis, we do the tour with Elvis, we do the first tour, and I'm thinking, I love that record, and I'm thinking, the press is, this is a bad band, this is kind of bad boys, bad behavior. And we're in Sydney and we do the first gig and they play for 57 minutes and the place just erupts. And they're fighting the promoter backstage because they won't do an encore, right? Yeah. So they get front page news. And that's a sidebar. But so they hear us play and they love the band. Yeah. Right? They just love the band and we get on really well. And it was the first time in my career that he's on the side watching us play. We get off and he says, "Get back on there and do an encore." Nobody does that, right?
Yeah.
Go up there, And we just had this song called So Young. I'd just written the song called So Young. And he loved that song. And they were just lads, really, and he was kind of riding high. But he was, we shared similar things and we just have a love affair for all kinds of different music.
Yeah.
And then when he came out, I think he just came out with a bass player. I'm not sure. He just does this little tour of just him playing guitar and might have had a double bass. And strangely enough, was looking for records and found this record called Sonola and rings me up. Somehow a promoter they get a hold and he rings me up and says, I had spoken to him for a long time. Said, "I want to come to your house. I want to come and hang out." So he came over to my house. We hung out. We talked about the Promised Land, and I kind of lied to him a bit about the Promised Land because it was this great record called Another Saturday Night, and it was a compilation record, Zydeco music, R&B, pretty much R&B covers, really, most of them, and there's and a few kind of traditional songs.
Yeah,
and I told him I never heard it. I just made it up. Not the song, the idea of the song. He kind of half believed me and half didn't believe me. But there was there was a fabulous track on it that he really liked. Oh, he liked the whole record and I think he bought about 10 copies, So I was able to refresh that store.
Nice. And he was the catalyst to you really getting that deal with CBS Records.
Well, I don't know if that was the case. That was Sonola. CBS was another 4 albums down the track. Yeah, right. So, that was, it's funny. We recorded Sonola in 6 hours. We recorded Rock and Zydeco about the same time. The difference was same band, same everything. It worked on Sonola. It didn't work as well on Rock and Zydeco. So you can. These are the trials and tribulations of recording. And then by then we had me and Nick had got together and then we recorded an original album, or pretty much an original album called A Place in the World.
Yeah.
So A Place in the World, we had a kind of top 20 single and around 86. It was localized, you could have a hit in Sydney and not one in Melbourne, that kind of concept.
It was all split,
Yeah, which was kind of fun. I think it was harder for me with the Falcons on that level because I'd be number 1 in Melbourne and be sort of 22 in Brisbane or something.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get the chart that you wanted, because in those days it was all about chart success and it was all about all the trimmings that came with that. So we had this record and Country Girls came out and that sparked something in me and Nick, and so we started writing together, and we ended up with this album called Dear Children, and that's where Daughters of Glory came from. And the really nice thing about Daughters of Glory and Mystified and Dear Children, I think they were the 3 singles off the album, is all of a sudden once again, this is our 4th album, and we're still doing exactly what we were doing on the first album, hand screen printing the covers,
really,
making stuff, sewing it up, making it. And I kind of met a few people that were interested in the record, and I gave it to around this time now. We've had Eon FM and those kind of stations, Triple M, all those things were starting up. And this is how we got the deal with CBS. I started playing because you'd have pluggers. So CBS had a plugger, and the plugger couldn't understand why, which, makes perfect sense. Why are you playing Daughters of Glory and you can't buy the record?
Yeah, right.
Right. So it's kind of, and you're playing Mystified. And they're saying, well, we like the songs, but, and they're not interested in sales. They're interested in, doing, playing music. And it was a wonderful time for all kinds of different music then too. And so I get a call from CBS if they were interested in taking on this album, and they would give me X amount of dollars to make another album. And I thought, well, I said to Nick, well, we're kind of out of the wilderness,
Yeah.
He said, what about the 3 tuba players, man? What are we going to do with it? I said, well, and we're writing songs. We're not writing one song. We're writing 5 or 6 songs at any one time. I mean, that was really a wonderful time for me and Nick.
Did your songwriting change in that time? With that?
I think it changed as we got more successful, which, sometimes it's kind of good not to be so successful.
Yeah.
Because then you have a different kind of vision about things, and you kind of, you love the struggle.
Yeah.
And if they take the struggle out of you, it's kind of, you still believe in all the things, and you're still writing good songs, and you still, but you got to learn how to deal with that. Yeah. Like the Falcons, the bar wasn't that high, I just wanted to play in New York, and I wanted to see some blues. It wasn't that, I was a music fan. I'm still a music fan. I kind of, that's kind of what I like. I fell into doing stuff. So, well, we need songs. Okay, this is this piece. Let's kind of fulfill that commitment. And, Nick's a wordsmith, and he's really good at looking at what I'm doing and sort of pulling it together. And all of a sudden we had a fistful of songs. We had more songs than we needed.
Yeah.
Dear Children now has been swallowed up by CBS, and we get a hit. It's still different states, but we get a hit in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And in Victoria. It's easy to play in Victoria. It's pretty hard to get to Brisbane. Impossible to get to Sydney, if you know what I mean. So it was, and I've got 3 tuba players now. The band has changed. I've got 3 tuba players, Hammond organist, 2 guitar players, bass and drums.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it's fabulous and weird at the same time. And we just lost George Petromoulos. He couldn't cope with the milkshakes and the wagon wheels. He couldn't deal with that anymore, and wanted to start something else. And I realized then that I can't replace him, so you got to change it up.
Yeah.
And that's how Hold On to Me came out of that. And the really nice thing for me was I made a few conditions that I didn't have in the Falcons. Still didn't get it right, but I thought I had it right, which was they're not allowed to come into the studio, they're not allowed to say anything, they're not allowed to pick anything. I do that. I do that, to a degree.
Yeah, and did that? I mean, that's a very Brian Wilson viewpoint, really, isn't it?
I guess though, when I didn't know. I wouldn't have thought so at the time that anyone else was doing it. And now that I know a little bit more about all the goings on in the industry as an industry, I just wanted to not have a suit involved in the creative concept. This is about a band that loves being together, and it's about two guys that love writing and hanging out together and laughing.
Yeah.
And making shit up.
Yeah.
And it was a joyous time for me and for Nick. And all of a sudden, we had a monster, But the 5 years before it was the build up to that, really.
Yeah.
I think Dear Children was you got a sense of, even though we didn't get that right, I don't think we got any record right. But some things kind of hit the mark. There's some reason why Hit and Run is there's some reason why Hit and Run is a great song. There's something that makes the people love it.
Yeah.
More so than I wish I could understand. I wish I could understand why Shape I'm In is so popular. I don't understand it. I didn't understand why Chain to the Wheel became so popular.
Yeah.
I like the song. It wasn't going to go on the album. I always thought it was for a younger man than me, but I'm really happy that it did, because not only did it yield, made the difference for that album. We were almost platinum before that record came out. And when that record came out, it went to triple platinum in about 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, and it became a gold single. So what would I know?
But it was the one that really gave you that radio edge. The radio stations wanted to play it. It was such a huge hit.
Well, that's true. I don't understand it, but 'cause I thought The Chosen Ones was the best song on the album.
Yeah.
For me, it's and there was a couple of other things. Once again, I think me and Nick working too hard on the feeling that, this could be our last album. Let's just put out of the 25 songs we wrote, let's put 18 of them or 16, and ended up with 16, but we must have finished 23 or something. Let's do that and say goodnight.
Do you look at every album that you create as the last album you're going to do?
Absolutely, more thrown out than ever. But because where does it come from? Where does the fire belong? Why is it? And the need. There's no need. We're in this kind of weird place now where nostalgia is so big and so ripe and so wrong. I find it frustrating on many different levels, because you look in the mirror and you see you don't see the same person, and you're sort of on one level dying on the vine, but you've got this will, this joy to do something, to create more things.
Yeah.
But there's this kind of big push against everything, and once again, as it always does, it's always shifting. It's not you never can stand still, and people feel comfortable, and that's why this record exists. They feel comfortable knowing that there's if I'm going to buy their record, it's got
I know the songs.
Wheels, it's got all the songs, and I can. They just play themselves out, So there's a lot of frustration, and then you sort of say, well, man, all the good guys, all the guys that you like, struggle.
Yeah.
All the people that Willie DeVille, great artists, incredible. Garland Jeffries, sensational.
Yeah.
All struggle. Bob Dylan struggles, on a different level. But,
he still struggles.
Yeah. But there's that struggle. There's that kind of joy of sort of, joining some other dots together, and on some levels they allow it, but on another level it's a closed shot.
Yeah. Let's talk about Never Let Me Go, written for Vicar Bull, right?
Yep.
What was the story there?
Well, isn't it? It was like Gilligan's Island. We needed Vanetta Fields sang all the tracks on "Hold On to Me" pretty much, and then the girls just we found Vicar and Linda, and they were in a band called Honeymooners, I think. And I said, would you be interested in doing 6 weeks with us? It's kind of like the 6-week tour that lasted 6 years.
What a find, right? Yeah.
and it was just a joyous thing. We had, my concept was everybody up the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nobody in the background.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the front line. And we got to a point where we felt that we needed to give them a vehicle, something to run with and make it their own. And it's part of what we do. No one was, I'm sure there were people doing similar things, but no one in Australia was doing that.
No.
And to my knowledge, whereas I had the girls in the background, I had, background singers in the background. They're not background singers.
No.
We're all, I know we know that they're not, but, in that early stage. And so there was a vehicle for them, okay, well, let's write this song. And so the really good thing was, Would Never Let Me Go. I wanted to write a song with Nick that related to her and her personality.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people, forget that they can write a good song, but it doesn't necessarily suit the person.
Yeah.
Unless they get the personality right, And I think we managed to do that with that song.
Yes.
And I thought the duet "Baby It's a Crime" was perfect for Linda at the time. She was a lot shyer, a couple of years younger than Vic, and I thought that would be a nice thing. And we did this nice little duet. And I just love singing that song.
Yes,
I love singing that song with Linda. I just love it. When we get a chance, we always do it.
Oh, they're so good. Are you still keeping in contact with them?
Yeah, I saw Vic not so long back at a restaurant, because there's this restaurant in Melbourne and they make really good meatballs. And I go there with my brothers when I can on a Thursday afternoon, and she popped in with a mum and a daughter. And I didn't know that they knew this restaurant, and she ordered exactly what I ordered. So it was good. It was great to see her. And, they're just gorgeous girls. And there was never any. The whole idea about the Black Sorrows is that what you do is what you do. It's a vehicle for everybody to jump in and jump out, and I think that's been its saving grace. And it's certainly, as I said, it was always. They're giving you something, and it's always a joy. I'm giving them something, and they can carry that with them as well.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful combination because I had Jen Anderson, of course, who was also in the band at the time. Yeah. So there was, it wasn't 50-50, but it was close.
Yeah.
And Jen played a really beautiful role, lovely musician, and it was a beautiful foil. So there was a lot of personalities in that particular lineup.
You could say it was a perfect foil, and when you got to that point, you reached a song that it almost took on a life of its own, and that was Harley and Rose.
Yeah, well, you need something, you got to make it up. It's true, isn't it? Like we had recorded Never Let Me Go. We recorded a whole bunch of things. We're about 14 songs into it, and we had 2 songs coming, and that was Baby It's a Crime and Harley and Rose. So the last 2 songs we recorded for that album.
Wow.
And those were the 2 songs that we needed. And Harley and Rose took on something. We recorded the night sitting in the kitchen, and we were recording something else.
Yeah.
And the band was still there, and I said, well, let's go and cut this and see what we get.
Yeah.
And it was terrible, but what it gave me is that the next morning we were all set up and we had an idea of what it was. We did a playback and because it was all there. It was kind of like a gift.
Yeah.
The Baby It's a Crime we had already. We knew what that was.
Yeah.
Me and Nick knew what that was, and it was just a matter of. And the beautiful thing about Baby It's a Crime, we had George Petromoulos came in and played on that, the beautiful piano accordion on that track. And it was, I can still see Linda's face, it was just beautiful. And Harley and Rose just was, I just thought it was a really good song. It was a good idea. About all the things that we all go through.
It's pure storytelling, and I liken it to, you've got your Jack and Diane, and you've got your Living on a Prayer, where you're personifying, people within the song, and you're giving them a backstory.
Yeah, well, that's the making of a great song, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It became Song of the Year, and you when you're in it, you take all these things for granted, right? I mean, this is 30 years old, and I think it's going to be our next single. Can you believe that?
How about that?
It's going to be our next single. We've just released For Your Love, and because it's the Quintessential album, I think it's a great choice.
Yeah.
But you kind of, you brace yourself for disappointment, right? You kind of, there's lots of great songs out there that never kind of see the light of day. And that one just happened to, tick all the boxes. Yeah. The record company came in and listened, how I said they weren't allowed to come in till the end.
Yeah.
And then what I'd do is I'd play I'd get the engineer to play the 24-track 2-inch machine, and I'd walk out. Right?
Yeah.
I don't stay there. I'm not hanging. I'd leave it until, and and because they all, they want the trimmings, right? They all
Yeah.
want the trimmings, and I don't want the trimmings. I don't care about any of that nonsense. I just want them to hear it. And they came back and they said, "Well, we love this song. We love this song, Never Let Me Go." And I said, "Well, that's good. That's a great song." And I said, we also love that song, Harley and Rose, and we like, Hold It Up to the Mirror and a whole bunch of other songs. I think we had 7 singles off that album.
Yeah.
And I said, "But the girls aren't on it." I said, "Well, they don't need to be on it. It's not about that, And I said, "Well, we kind of want you to put the girls on." I said, I'm not doing that. Right. I'm not doing that. You can take the record, you can pass on the record. I'm not doing it. And even though I had nothing to stand on, it was just me kind of rattling on like an old saber.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'll have a look." They got me to have a look at it. And so all I did was turn the tambourine up.
Right.
That's all I did. And I sent it to them. And I don't know what happened. We were playing in Geelong the weekend of that release. And Hold On To Me had been in the charts for 56 weeks, I think.
Wow.
But we were failing,
Yeah.
We were failing. Not we were better than where we were playing. We were now playing to 300 people somewhere in some nightclub that went to 5 o'clock in the morning. And, we got, kind of wild. And then I wake up, I get a call Monday morning and it said, you're number 1 in Victoria. Harley and Rose has sold 70,000 albums.
Wow.
I mean, it's just kind of like, it flipped me, because I'm saying, I'm almost down to that point where I was in Hobart,
where I'm going to give it up.
Really almost on my knees saying, "Oh, well, it was good while the money lasted. I think we spent it all."
Now, I mean, your partnership with Nick, obviously, Nick Smith is really, your Bernie Taupin.
Yeah, pretty much, like we started off doing things together and then kind of just worked that way. And he's just better at it. And
what's the secret?
I think nothing's sacred.
Yeah.
It has to be, really, doesn't it? When you think about it, if we had this line that I loved, strength is a shield or something in some song. Faith is a shield, I think it was. And I kind of always liked that line and never wanted to put it in anything. and eventually put it in something.
Yeah.
Just for his entertainment, we talk about everything but music.
Yeah.
And then we get down to it just before we say, before I let him out. At the house, or we run through things, so I've got this, here's a dummy lyric on this, and he says, "I like that.
Yeah,
I can do something with that. I can't do anything with that."
Yeah,
so it's kind of like the honor system, and sometimes I'll kind of try to trick him and say, "What about this one?" He says, "I still can't do anything on that." I said, "Yeah, I know, but
do something."
But there's something in there, He said, "Well, you got to work on it a little harder." And then, but he's such a funny guy. I mean, he's just a funny guy, and I wish he was in the band. I really think the band would be better for it as a unit if he was part of it. But sometimes people can't do those sort of things. They can't. They have to retire from that.
Yeah.
And they just love music on different levels. We're so different as people and how we go about doing what we do.
Yeah.
And he loves the deadline blues. I hate the deadline blues. I like being on time. He's always got a reason for not being on time. And I'll just carry on from there. But we have a great love for each other, and I wouldn't swap one moment.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, you've performed from cafes through to world stages. Is there anything in your whole story, in your experience, where there's a lot of new artists that are coming up? Yeah. Is there something that you would impart to them, a word of wisdom?
Well, first of all, the first thing is don't look down. That's really kind of important.
Yeah,
to kind of focus on what it is that you want. All the people that do that do really well.
Yeah.
There's no easy way in.
Yeah.
But there's an easy way in. There's kind of to a degree, I mean, they've devalued music to such a degree anyway, so it's become...
There's a lot of luck involved, though, isn't there, really?
Sorry?
There's a lot of luck involved, isn't there?
Oh, there's an incredible amount of luck, If Daryl Summers hadn't seen me in a record store and brought a copy, he paid me for Sonola.
Yeah.
And then rang me up and said, "You're on Hey Hey, it's Saturday." I mean, now I'm working at the Victoria Market, putting vegetables on trucks, not even selling. I'm putting vegetables on trucks. I had sold gold records with Jo Jo Zep and the Falcons, toured the world, and that's where I was.
Yeah.
And one guy said, "Do you want to come and play on a Sunday afternoon?" It's kind of it's fate, but it's different now. So people now play the music has different reasons for it. There's incredible songwriters and incredible things going on all the time.
Yes,
incredible. But the idea behind how they put it together is different. Yeah. I was doing a show where they stripped the stage. Everything's in ears. They've got samples running. They're doing the show's exactly the same every night. The front of house and the back of house. First note, boom. It's like kind of whatever it is that they want. That's the record sound they want.
Yeah.
We're still plugging in and kind of trying to get the struggle behind it all. Trying to get close to the drums so you can hear the feeling behind the groove of what it is. And it's organic and it's going to be different tomorrow and it's going to be. Yeah. But you only ever think about the bad gigs. You never think about the great gigs. And you think, all these things that kind of belong to a generation, I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what makes it work for me. It's kind of why I want to keep doing it. It's just kind of elastic. You say different stuff because it's a different moment. You can't sing it quite the same because you don't know how to sing it. It's still work in progress. There's still value in this beautiful thing, that you're actually attached to.
I love it. I love it. Look, your album's out. It's called The Quintessential Black Sorrows. You have lived every single note of that record. And
I think I have.
Remember.
Yeah. I think so. But look, it's a wonderful journey. I don't regret. Yeah. There's a lot of things I do regret, but I don't regret any of the choices we made, whether I've made them or we've made them collectively. I think there's that beautiful thing that this is the best it could be right now.
Yeah.
These are the mistakes that I'm making right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Joe, thank you for putting together this love letter for 40 years of Black Sorrows music that we've had on radio, in our ears, listening to it on vinyl. Fantastic. You're an absolute Australian icon. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hit plus or follow to subscribe to the podcast and head over to Facebook at The Long Way to the Top Podcast and give us a like. Keep on rocking, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Long Way to the Top.